Hey folks, it's me. I'm the Oracle, and I've started this page because I wanted to share my discovery with you all. First of all, I wanted to make this video to discuss my claim to fame. Well, that's, so to speak. My claim to fame is I claim to be either the only or the first. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I'm the only. I'm the only content creator on any platform so far who's done the work of taking a clip of your affirmations, or saying your own personal affirmation, your own personal sayings, and running it through a process of listening to it forwards, backwards, fast, slow, high pitch, and low pitch. I've messed with this technology or this method for on and off over the past 15 years. And I guess now was the time I felt like now was a good time to pretty much get into sharing this, because I think that it'll help that people using it in the proper context. If you use it in the proper context, I think you'll gain a lot of insight to your own psyche, and even how to work with your own psyche in the process. I think it's an insight, it's intuition, direction, things of that nature. It might even put things in perspective with using this technology. Now, so what it is you would do something like take your you have your phone, okay? You would take and you would download a vocal recorder app. Then you also download the app I use to edit that, or to play with the speeds and the pitches and backwards and forwards. The app called Uptempo. On your vocal recorder app, you're going to say a positive saying or affirmation or something that you want to say to yourself. You're going to say that saying, turn it into an MP3. 6 minutes or 6 seconds, 7 seconds, 30 seconds, 2 minutes. It can be hours. It can be however long. I mean, you can. The side note, you can do this with not just your own stuff, but you can do this with anything. You can do this with music and stuff like that. But you're going to take the MP3, that clip, and you're going to put it over to the Uptempo app. And you want that app because you want to be able to hear that saying sped up. Even though you can at a regular speed or slower, or high pitch, low pitch, and you can play around with all those things. And you're gonna have it just loop in your ear. You're gonna have earphones. You're gonna loop it. You're starting to get interesting messages. Now, I don't want to give away all of it, but I don't want to give away all the details, because there's certain things that you can only understand through. And like I've been putting in other videos, this word that I'm drilling this word because I like this word. This word is called qualia. Which means, basically, if I'm not mistaken, from what I just learned, that you can only understand and fully grasp or fully comprehend this by experience. So this is my gift. This is my doorway. This is my doorway into the self-help inspiration niche, by sharing this experience with you all. Something that you can only experience, that you only fully understand, fully grasp by actually experiencing it. The wonders of what it brings to you. I feel like it'll bring you a certain amount of liberation if done correctly. If done correctly. Don't take that out of the context. Don't freak out about what you hear. I also can teach you, or also will teach you, how to hear correctly. Because some of the things that come up you may not even understand, or you might be like, why is this saying this? I know I'm not thinking X, Y, Z, or what. I can tell you how to get through all that. I've worked out the complications by now. That's how good I got at using this technology. Those complications are worked out. But I also, while I'm making this video, I want to give a disclaimer. I, at this point, am not a medical professional. I am not a licensed therapist. So use this technology that I'm giving you at your own discretion. If you feel like there's a lot of psychological issues there where you need to talk to somebody upon approaching this technology, or approaching using this methods or whatever, which I will share in later videos, talk to a medical professional, talk to a licensed therapist, share my videos and content with a licensed professional and with a licensed therapist and get their opinion on as to whether the practice and technology or use of technology, should I say, is safe. Because technology is already out there, but the use of it, I feel like at this point, I'm the only one. This is my claim to fame, and I'm the only one or one of the first ones to use the technology fully at this capacity. I mean, there's other people who've talked about robotic affirmation, and then there's a guy who's popular for playing the message backwards. But I did the work of playing them of the back masking, the forward masking, the over and over looping. I've got a lot of work on under this and this, not just backwards and forwards and high pitch and low pitch and fast and slow, looping over and over again, listening to the messages. I've even done the work of recording overlapping messages. So I've got those levels, and then I have 3 more levels after that. But in the process of letting those things play long term in your earphones, was the interesting thing that I found is that something happens, and you'll start to hear messages. And like I said, I've even worked out when messages don't sound all that when messages don't sound all that pleasant, or it seems like something that's weird or something that's obscure. I've worked all those things out, and so I teach how to listen. There's a certain way of listening that changes things in your process, or that enhances the experiences in your process. So what I've started this channel to do is to be an educator on this methodology, how it works, what you're going to get out of it, why it's important. I feel like that a healthy communication with the psyche can change your life. It gives you having a greater insight to yourself, your intuition, the things that are going on, how to work with those things in order to coordinate you moving down a better path, or even in some cases warning you about instances pertaining to health and wholeness and well-being. There's instances that in my stories, in my 15 years of playing with this stuff, that I've gotten insight, and I think in the process that even a situation be drastic, it might even save a life. It might, through some kind of some form of preventative care. This is just me surmising the potential of what this technology is for. Like I said, it has not undergone to my extent, to my understanding or my comprehension, medical evaluation or psychological evaluations with this technology. I'm just sharing my experience with it, and I think that in sharing my experiences with it, there may be people who have experienced similar. I have yet to, reach out to me if you have. If you got questions, I can answer those questions for you. That's how familiar I am with using that technology. And what you're going to do, again, you're going to take and you're going to download a vocal recorder app. Now, if you got studio equipment, you can do the same thing with studio equipment. But you're going to take the vocal recorder app. You're going to say a positive affirmation, say sayings, talk to it, talk to yourself. You're going to make the clip like an MP3. You're going to download the other application, like an up-tempo app or something that deals with pitch and, backwards and forwards and fast and slow and all that, pitch and all that. And you're going to take the clip over to that, and you're going to pretty much, that's where you're going to let that play, let that loop, listen to it over and over again, over time, for the particular messages. That's backwards, that's forwards, that's high pitch, that's low pitch. You're going to let those things do. You can write down, get a pad, or if you're, the people who's not even using pencil and pad anymore are going to take and start and log them on other phones or other devices. That's cool too. But you get that cool. I think it's pretty cool to get the insight. The insight that comes out of it. I think it's pretty cool to have a device where if used in the proper context, can give you insight to your own psyche, help you communicate with yourself. What I've learned from the whole thing is this. I've learned that literally the way you talk to yourself changes how you reflect, and it changes how you reflect in your life. That's what I learned. And that's one of the reasons why I think this is so cool and so important, because it's a process of working with yourself and having this communication. And it's a healthy way of talking to yourself, the dialogue within the monologue, back and forth. They say some people don't experience internal monologue. Okay, I get that. I don't know if I actually agree with that saying that some people don't experience internal monologue, but For those people, this right here, this technology right here would actually be extra beneficial, because what if those people who don't experience, or those of you all who claim that who actually feel that you don't experience inner monologue, this will be a way where you can actually start having the inner conversations you may have always wanted to have. You might have had inquiries and not figured out like how this plays out back and forth, or what it's like to have inner monologue or dialogue, or to have the conversations, or to see the insight, to be able to have insight into your own psyche. And this may provide a way. And I'm pretty sure, I'm confident that it will provide a way. It's a lot that can happen, and I think that it'll enhance. Excuse me from all the it'll. It will enhance your inner relationship, your self relationship. Because even if you don't have inner dialogue, when I'm talking right now, I can hear my voice before I hear anything else, or above anything else, whether it's going to sound like what it's going to sound like on the recorder or not. Inwardly or outwardly, I hear this. So the one thing that I've learned, the one thing I'm mindful of, I think about, that even though the recording, my voice may sound different in the recording, in the process, guess whose voice I'm hearing in the process of saying, I'm wonderful, I'm awesome, I'm supreme, I'm divine. I'm listening to mine right then and there in the process of recording it. Whose voice is the biggest influence on life, society, direction? Whose voice do you listen to, or you have the most influence? Yours. It's your own. Your voice is the voice that has the most influence on on your decisions, on your direction you go in life. I mean, there are people who have the power of influence, or are more mesmerizing and are more charismatic with their words, and they can talk people. They have the power of persuasion on their side. They have the riz. They can talk to people, but this way right here. There's a way to basically talk to yourself, gas yourself up, have the riz on yourself. It's certain things that people want out of life, right? There's a certain way you look at yourself now, and you say, well, I could really be better if I had this, or if I was this type of person or that type of person. Or there are things that you may want to change about how your presentation. You might feel like you're perfectly fine, but it's a presentation. It's working with other people, and it's understanding how to coordinate your wants and desires in a way that people feel comfortable with. If you feel like you're an awkward person and you want to create a more of a dynamic presentation to get rid of the awkward presentation that you might have came up under, this would be a way where you can program yourself, or pretty much like you program yourself and say, hey, look, I'm dynamic, or I'm prolific. I'm easy to get along with. People love to be around me, and they love to hear the conversations. I tell interesting stories about myself and about my life. Stuff like that. Or I'm an interesting person, or I'm loved by everybody. I'm the life of the party. I walk into the room, although I'm introverted by nature, when I walk into the room, when I interact with people, they show me love, and I show them love back and forth. Little things like that. I'm just throwing little lines out there. You don't have to use these lines. You can use these lines. But there's certain lines that you can tell yourself. If you let those lines play over and over again, let those lines loop over and over again, and your psyche, in the process of reading them out or saying them out on the vocal recorder app, you're going to feel that for yourself. When you take and listen to the actual recording, you're going to hear yourself as other people hear you, to yourself, talking to yourself, or saying these things, and you can say them in the form of I am, or you are. You can say your name, and I can say Oracle, or Apollo in this case. I'm just using Oracle for the sake of the channel. Because, and the reason I'm using, let's get into the side note. Let's get into the reason I'm using Oracle. I'm about to run. Oracle, it was in the ancient terms, that was the mouthpiece on behalf of the gods. As an upcoming minister and life coach, making my way into the self-help and inspiration niche, I use this term Oracle now, upgrading the material as I give it out to be the mouth of God, the mouth of the gods, the mouth of the deity, the mouth of the divine. And I want to extend that to say that we all have that in us. We all have the mouth of the divine in us. And it's not just for prophecies and for premonitions. It's also for encouragement, for uplifting. Inside you, there is an I am. And I say this just to reference some of my personal beliefs that I've gathered from my personal reading. Being the Bible being one of my where a lot of that helped mold and shape my core beliefs. On the mountain in the Old Testament, Moses met what he considered was the divine. And the divine revealed itself in the form of I am. That's what he told Moses to tell the people. He said, by nature, is I am that I am. But he told Moses to tell the people in Egypt, to tell the Hebrews in Egypt that I am has sent you. You can only say I am from the inside. If you take the story to be the metaphor from what's the spirit or the essence that's on the inside of you, we all have this part of us that is the I am. That's how we say I am, I am Apollo, or I am Susie, or I am Justin, or I am this, or I am that, or I am Leon, or I am Mamadou. Those things. Those you get the point. For the names, I am. We all have this I am on the inside. That I am is waiting on you to communicate. It has things to say to you. It has a way of where the relationship, as the relationship grows, you get this interconnected completeness, this feeling of more being complete. Things come together for you that start to make more sense. You start to have a more cohesive life, rather than scattered, where everything's all over the place, and you feel it. And whether it's ups and downs and twists and turns, there's more of a flow to life when you feel more put together, when you feel more complete, when you feel like there's an inner communication that's finally getting a chance to come out and speak, that you're finally paying attention to yourself. It's a shame that people die with their dreams still in them and die without having accomplished the things they could have accomplished, and without fulfilling their full potential to the greatest capacity. But I think one of the reasons why is because some people think because they didn't follow their impulses, or they didn't make decisions to be able to go forward. I think another reason may be why the suppression of you going in the direction to follow your desires may be that because you're not even aware of them. That it could be possible you be walking around here unfulfilled, looking for direction, and the direction's inside you and you're ignoring it because you don't know, because of not knowing how to communicate. And we see that in our health all the time. We don't know why certain things happen, like why bumps and rashes or whatever. Your body's trying to tell you something, but you don't know how to communicate it. So you go to the doctor, you get a diagnosis, and then they give you a prescription, and things get better. Well, there are some things that show themselves in ways that can't be diagnosed or that aren't being looked at, that medical science may not have took a look at this point. You would think, well, no, we live in a time where that everything that, but we live in a time, no matter how advanced it is, we live in a time that has the same room other times have for, and that's it, room for improvement. No matter how advanced our technology is going to be, no matter how detailed we know about the human body, the human psyche, and life and society, there's always going to be room for improvement. And that's just the way life is. I'll give an example of what I mean by that. And I think that life always provides us with certain flaws or opportunities in order to express this. This is in order to express that life has this way of continuation. Like if something was totally, had this total finished out, it'd be finished, it doesn't continue. But there's always a way for continuation. The pyramids, for example, they're by all means, people consider the Great Pyramids a perfect work of perfection. Do you know, in order to get the perfection they have, in order to line up with Orion's belt and all that, the Great Pyramids of Giza, and to have the perfection, they're not all the way perfectly north. They're off a little bit, and that's the flaw. The nature of life provides the flaws that provide us room for improvement, even in our most perfect states. And I think that's the way that life is saying it's meant to continue. It's not meant to be like, okay, this work is finished. Okay, I move on. I think it's life's way of saying that that the providence of these flaws are saying, okay, this is that there's always something to fix, there's always something to work on. That this is the doorway for continuation, for continual to keep on going. There's a process. There's a way that this here keeps on going. Now there's things on the inside of us that open that flow, that open us to that flow of life. There are parts that you might consider to be a flaw or to be an imperfection that, used in proper context, recontextualized, should I say, and looked at in a different perspective, will provide a new way of flow into your to purpose, to being, to interaction with people. All right, perfect example. Say you're the intellectual, right? But you know information. You can retain information down to the T. You know how to assimilate the information, break the information down. You even know the other side of what people miss and lack when they can't retain the information. So you have a way to even bridge the gap with people who don't get it when you get it. But now your flaw is this. Let's say your flaw is you're introverted. So that's your barrier to entry. You have all these tools, right? You have all this. You have education. You have knowledge. You have comprehension. We even have a way to help spread it to people. But your barrier to entry is that you're an introvert. Okay, how does that flaw work in your favor? How can that flaw be redirected here mentally to work in your favor? You don't get rid of being an introvert, because guess what? What if some of the people that you can help are introverts like you are? You ever put introverts in the room together? People who got common interests begin to talk, they begin to open up. See, if you had all the information, you were an extrovert, or if you were more like myself, you'd just be jumping and putting things in the face, and you might ward off somebody that's introverted. What if the crowd that you're supposed to talk to because of your flaw as an introvert are more introverts? And now you have a key that relates to the person that is not only an introvert, but doesn't have the tools that you have to offer. So now as a fellow introvert, you have this common bond with this person where you can be more patient and you can be more understanding and more comprehensive around another introvert's needs. So then your flaw became a superpower. Your flaw was redirected in a way that created a flow, just like the flaw in the pyramids. That's all I'm saying. Now, so with that aside, I didn't mean to be going left, but like I said, my claim to fame is that I took this technology to different levels. Now, even though at the time I make this video, I'm not famous yet, but I'm using the fact that I've made this discovery, that I've took the time on and off the past 15 years to play with this technology, to share it with people, because for one, this is something that I can put in your hands. I can teach courses on it at this point. I can tell you how this technology works for you. I can get you past the things that you might, the challenges of using this technology. I can put something tangible in your hands for you to work with. And then we can have the discussions on how, as you work with this technology and grow with this technology, we can have discussions at different levels on how to enhance the quality of this technology for your life, or how to enhance to enhance its effects on your life. And I can answer, and believe me, I'm not bragging, but I put in the work where I can answer a lot of questions pertaining to it. But this is also my foot in the door of dealing with self-help and inspiration. And some more insight about me. I was a minister since the late 90s. I'm only 45, right? And that might feel, of course, some people think that's old now, but it's an older man. But I've been doing this. Spirituality's been my thing, and I've been here setting aside part of my life to help other people since I was 17 to 18 years old. That's been my interest. I've always wanted to help people. I mean, aside from the other things that if you look online, you'll see I'm an author, a speaker, a performer, things of that nature. But I've always wanted to, if I got something good, I want you in on it. Not just for myself, not just being the ham, not just wanting to be famous, but also just a sincere desire to empower other people. My experiences growing up as a child, not to share too much of that, but growing up as a child, whenever I felt like I was the oddball or the odd man out in school, I would do things. I would find other oddballs, odd men out, and I would, they wasn't males, females, or not to say that my friends were odd. My friends were wonderful, but people who felt alone, pretty much, and I would empower them. We would joke and we would laugh. We would find common bonds together, and next thing you know, everybody. What I discovered was it's not just certain people in our classroom settings and in school felt that way. Everybody has a part of themselves that feels alone, that feels isolated from the group. That's what I found out, and so we all. What I'm saying is through it all, through me willing to step past my comfort zone of feeling like the odd man out, I was able to, and not saying I became the most popular guy in school throughout those years, but I was able to have some form of relating to everybody because this touched apart on different levels. We all had our own isolations, and I figured out, okay, this is not so bad, So then me personally, I was able to loosen up, and and share some of the other side of what I thought was great about myself, and I think it encouraged other people to do so, And I gained family. I didn't gain just friends and classmates. I gained an incredible family, of people who we've been together in my city for most of my life. Those people are my family, and we've been here, but they come from many different walks of life. But the common bonds that we shared over the years, that kept us together, and that keeps us together, that keeps us functioning as a family, and checking on each other to make sure that we're okay, and to make sure that if something new comes up, that we share it with each other. Those common bonds last. Those common bonds that we had as children, they lasted up into our adulthood. So as people, because of it, because I was able to step out of that and step out of my comfort zone, I've got these friendships and extended family for nearly 40 years. And I appreciate every bit of it, but I offer the principle up to other people. Be willing to find those common bonds you have with other people. And sometimes those common bonds can be the result of you redirecting how you view your own flaws. That was the other point of this part. And how you redirecting how you view your own flaws, and being able to step past your comfort zone to be the blessing. That's what I'm getting at. To be the blessing that you want to see in your life. So to sum all that up, what I realized at an early age is that the friendship that I wanted, I was looking for, and the camaraderie came when I wasn't afraid to be that friend, that comrade, that listening ear. I made myself a person that can sit and listen to somebody's concerns without judging, without being so quick to have input, just being there to be an ear. And I developed a reputation for listening enough and just presenting a point of view that bridged the gap between the problem and the solution. And I did, and doing so, that created more friendships. It created, people who felt they can come to me with issues to get the perspective that bridges the gap between problems and solutions. Well, if I had just stayed to myself and felt isolated and felt introverted, I wouldn't have those. I couldn't be that for other people, and I wouldn't have those people. I wouldn't have those experiences in my life. Because in return, the cool thing about being that for people is They were in turn when I had those times and I needed that listening ear, and I needed those perspectives. They were able to do that for me, and it wasn't so much as tit for tat. It's just that time provided time when it came time. That to go through the situations of life. These people that, in one instance, I was there for, they were where it was time where I needed that listening ear because of that development of that relationship of those people who might have went through things that I hadn't gone through yet, or experienced things that I hadn't experienced, seen things in a way that I didn't see them, were there because the relationship exists. That if I'd had kept it myself, I wouldn't have them. I wouldn't have this community, this wonderful family to fall back on. So that's just opening up. That's just the power of that's the power of, first of all, being the change you want to see. Second of all, redirecting how you view your own flaws. This technology that I'm talking about working with helps with that and a lot more through developing a more thorough insight to yourself, the things that you do on a daily basis, the kind of person you are desire to be, and your aspirations and your goals. This, just recording those affirmations, those positive sayings to yourself on the vocal recorder app, and then taking the little clips, the little MP3 clips, and putting them over to the up-tempo app or any speed app like it, playing them over and over again, listening to the messages, working with the material so that you play at high pitch, low pitch, backwards, forwards, in the process developing those, hearing those messages. That process is going to give you an inner refinement. That's what I'm trying to explain. That process is going to enhance the quality of your life. That process is giving you a greater level of inner work that's going to leave you feeling more complete and more fulfilled. So this is the journey that I offer, because that process is you not only talking to yourself and working with yourself, and molding yourself to be more refined. It's the journey that I've taken, and it's the journey that I'm sharing with you all to our greatest selves ever.